You raced John Bound that last one at Eastern Creek. How did you find racing like a V8 Supercar legend?
Oh my God, he is so nice. He's even offered to give me some coaching.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So he was pitted next to me, and my boss, of course, has a lot of history with him from the Sydney 12-hour in the RX7s, the SPs.
Yeah, Rick Shaw.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Well, my boss, John.
Oh, your boss. Okay.
Yeah, my boss was the mechanic on the SPs.
Yeah, okay.
Worked for Mazda Motorsport for a very long time.
Yeah.
So he, of course, knew John Bow very, very well.
Go, go, go! And you're doing it, he's in! That's a massive crash, and it's happened immediately! This is amazing! Big shot, and it's lights out, and away we go!
You raced John Bound that last one at Eastern Creek. How did you find racing like a V8 Supercar legend?
Oh my God, he is so nice. He's even offered to give me some coaching.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So he was pitted next to me, and my boss, of course, has a lot of history with him from the Sydney 12-hour in the RX7s, the SPs.
Yeah, Rick Shaw.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Well, my boss, John.
Oh, your boss. Okay.
Yeah, my boss was the mechanic on the SPs.
Yeah, okay.
Worked for Mazda Motorsport for a very long time.
Yeah.
So he, of course, knew John Bow very, very well. And when I sort of mentioned to John Bow that I worked for John Waterhouse, he was like, oh, no way, and like asking about him and stuff. And yeah, it was cool to have that connection with JB. And another thing is, when I used to go to the Bathurst 12-hour every year when I was a kid, I would get a yearly photo with him.
With John Bow?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
I showed
that.
him all through these yearly photos, and he was laughing. He was like, I actually remember that one.
What was your first year that you went to the Bathurst 12-hour?
The first year it was at Bathurst. So 2005 or 6.
2005 or 6? Yeah, okay.
That was the first year they ran it at Bathurst after they moved it from Sydney.
Yeah, okay.
It was like Evos and Yaris's.
Yeah. Oh,
like the 6-hour is now.
What the 6-hour is now. Yeah, okay. Because as you've seen in this studio, my stepdad's a huge GT racer himself. So you may have seen Jeff race with Bowie at the 12-hour.
Definitely.
Yeah. Did you have any particular cars that you liked going through the years every time you turn up to the event? Would it be like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or like a Mazda RX-7 or?
I remember one year there was an RX8 in it. It was a Series 2. At the time, I wasn't really too sure what an RX8 was. I was like, oh, it's a Mazda. But I love Mazdas. One of my favourite ones that I remember was, I think it was Quinn's had this black Porsche. It sort of looked like a Le Mans car.
Oh, was it a Mosler? Was that the one?
That might have been it.
It looked like a big flat type of car. And then it blew on fire every now and then and blew up.
That was the one.
Yeah, typical race cars.
I really, that car has really stuck in my head. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It was what sort of made me fall in love with Porsches.
You like
that shape is lovely.
You're a huge fan of Porsches.
Yeah, they're cool.
So if you could drive anything outside the RX8 Cup Series, would it be Porsche Cup in that case? Like if you got an opportunity given to you, which doesn't really happen.
Any opportunity to drive a Porsche would have to be taken up.
Yeah.
If I was to race outside of RX8 Cup, that's a really hard question. I think
normally I throw this at the end of the podcast, but we'll throw this in the middle of the podcast.
Oh, I haven't thought about this question hard enough. I'd love to race something classic like a touring car master.
Oh, you want to go touring? Oh, because of your dad, because you're touring car masters.
I love old cars.
Yeah.
Like old cars are just... Or Ingram's 20B peripheral port RX8.
Oh, okay.
Would be fun.
What do you think of the Trans Am series? Are you interested in that at all? Do you like that series?
It looks fun, but the cars look like a handful. Not saying a touring car wouldn't be, but I think driving a touring car would be fun because it's just this big hunk of metal.
Yeah. Have you got a close relationship with Rick Shaw with the RX8 Cup Series?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Because I do supply a lot of the panels and stuff to the competitors, and even we've reshelled a car for a competitor when he's gone into the wall at turn 1 at Sydney. It flattened. And so Rick supports me a lot because I support the category a lot, and he's been awesome. And Lisa, which is his wife, I love having her at the track.
Tom's full into driving too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's really good. He So me and him used to have our battles at the rear of the pack, and now he's winning them all and I'm still at the rear.
You're going all right, Maisie.
I'm having fun. That's all that matters.
Now, you're obviously not only just an RX8 Cup driver, but you're huge into the rally scene. How did all the rally thing come about for you?
So that started off through work. My boss is actually a rally car driver as well.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't actually driven a rally car yet, which I really would love to.
Yeah.
But we had a customer come in called Linda, and she needed a navigator. And so I decided to jump in, and that's when I was 16. And yeah, I've been rally navigating ever since, and I absolutely love it.
How do you not get sick? That's what stumps me and Brooke sometimes. Like looking down at the notes, how do you flip through them and know they're coming up and timing it all right? Like I think I saw it on your TikTok this week.
Yeah.
Like how do you time it yourself to get prepared for the next 3 corners?
You've got to, it's really bizarre how you do it actually. You're counting forward and back at the same time. So you've got the notes in front of you. So I do road book, not pace notes, so it's a lot slower. But you've got the terror trip in front of you, which is counting up, and you've got to be counting back from the terror trip in your head. And you reset the terror trip every time you get to one of the calls, so you know how far you've travelled since that last call. So it's like from one call, the next call might be 600 metres, and my driver Jamie likes it called at 400 metres. So I will be silent for 200 metres. And so when the terror trip gets to 200, I make the call 400 metres, turn hard right, whatever the call is.
Yeah.
And then I'll call it again at 200 metres. When the terror trip gets to 400, I'm calling 200. It's confusing at first. And I have actually never gotten sick in the rally car except for last weekend. I started to feel a bit queasy.
Did you eat something in the morning or anything?
No, that was the problem. So we had a massive delay on one of the stages, and usually I won't eat anything in the morning before I get in the rally car. At first service, I'll have a sausage sandwich, and that is good for me for the rest of the day until we get to the pub after the rally. Yeah. So I didn't eat anything in the morning, and we had like a 2-hour delay on one of the stages, and so it had gotten to like 2:00 and I still hadn't eaten anything. And so that empty stomach, sick feeling, I was like no energy, just being in the rally car. We broke a shock, so it was a really rough ride, and I guess that was the first time I've ever actually started to feel a bit
You're explaining the thing between the pace notes and what would you call it
the
there?
road book.
What's the difference between the two? Because I actually don't know anything about rallying at all.
Oh, okay. So pace notes is where you and the driver go and write the notes yourself before the rally. So you go and drive the stage, and you write every single corner, every single little thing out there that you're going to be needing to know, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more detailed in what you're driving to, so the driver will know exactly what's ahead of him at all times, whereas road book is known as a blind rally, so the driver is driving off what he can see in the road, except for the major things in the road are written by the event before the event, you know what I mean?
That makes a big difference. I was wondering how that happens, and now that makes sense to me, because I said to Dan, there is that rally like we were talking about, I said, that would terrify me not knowing, because I want control. Whereas the pace notes things you have control, but the other one you have no control of what's coming out at you.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's the major things that have to be known are written in the road book.
Yeah.
But, you're driving blind every other time. But the pace notes, that's why pace notes are so fast, is because you know exactly what's ahead.
Yeah. Is there any way to go testing though on rallying? Like it's for me in our car type of stuff, you can't just go out on the road and test a rally car, can you? Like
not legally.
Dan knows about that.
So you just go out to the back of a dirt road somewhere and gas it really on the DL.
They do rally sprints and stuff, but rally cars do have rally regjo or a UVP, so an unregistered vehicle permit. So you can drive your rally car on the road and stuff like that. So let's say you've just fixed a suspension that we broke last weekend in Narooma. We can put new suspension in and then go drive it out on the road and like go over bumpy roads and whatever we need to do. Of course, not breaking any laws to make sure the car's okay for the next rally.
Yeah. How do you prepare for a race though as a coach? Like, do you have any, like, is it a different mindset from your RX8 Cup Series to the co-driving in the rally thing?
Oh, very much so. So when you get to an event as a navigator, you've really got to keep time. That is one of the most important things, is getting your driver to where he needs to be on time every time. So you go do your sign-on, you get given your road book, and I usually sit down and eat a bag of lollies and fill out my road book. So I mainly change, let's say a call is 200 metres after the previous call, I'll turn that into one call. So it will be like road goes right, then straight on over crest, whatever the call is. I'll get rid of the 200 metres, because when you're at pace, a 200 metres comes up very quickly. So you sort of say then rather than in 200 metres. And you mark. So let's say you're flipping a page and there's a short call on the next page, you'll move that to the previous page so that you're not flipping the page and going, oh shit, well, we're already at the call. We've missed it. So you prepare your book in that sort of way. And something I do that a lot of other navigators don't do is I scrunch the corners of each page so that if you grab a page, two don't stick together.
That's smart.
Because I've done that before. I've turned two pages and gone, oh no.
That's the mechanic engineering of you though, to quickly keep note of what you're doing.
Well, it's really messy because pages are then that thick because they're all crumpled in the corners. But yeah, it means your pages don't stick together.
Yeah. What's your advice though for other women trying to get into like the rally scene as well? Like, because it is a male dominated sport, in my opinion.
The rally scene is actually really, really heavily female supported, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Like, a lot of guys have their wives navigate for them, or their daughters even. So that's cool to see how many women are in rallying.
Yeah.
There's a lot more than in circuit racing, I'll say that.
And I've got to ask, away from the rally scene, you started sort of your racing career with raceway time, track time. I always get that confused. How did that all come about, meeting Phil and his team?
So I knew of Phil, of course, because my dad was actually quite a big fan of Phil when he was racing back in the day.
Yeah.
So I knew of Phil through that and through my boss. My boss and Phil have known each other forever and ever, because Phil used to have Alexander Rotary. Mm-hmm. So they had a lot to do with each other. Now, when I first started racing, I needed to do my OLT, of course, and Phil does the OLTs for getting your license and that. And he also does driver training. So when I first bought the Cup car, my boss John got me to contact Phil and just say, hey, I need to do an OLT. Also, I've never driven a race car before. Please help. So went out, did a few days at Wakeford Park with him. I did 3 days with him before actually jumping into a proper race car, which one of them I crashed.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that. Yeah, so he was super helpful there. And then he really wanted me to get in and do some endurance racing with him. Mm-hmm. And so I did Wakefield 300 with him that same year, so my first year in motorsport. I did Wakefield 300 with him and we won our class.
Yeah. Was that with a few other girls as well in the team?
That was the Featherwood 4 hour where we came third in our class. Yeah. And that was 2 years ago.
Yeah. Phil's really known for getting legit people just off the street into racing. Hey?
Yeah.
Like he's
good.
Like he every time I see him at the track, he's like, oh, hey, meet this person, he's a hairdresser, or hey, meet this person, he works at McDonald's, or do you know what I mean? Phil. Like he just gets them into a car and they're just there to learn. And
so who were the other three in the car, like who were in the team with you?
So we had Cassie Puckle, who she had never driven a race car before. She had just done karting. Mm-hmm. We had...
Oh, you can find... It's all good. Name. We're a podcast. It's all good.
Yeah. I'll just find the other girl's name. I forget it. She does rallying now, though. Nikki Baker.
Nikki Baker, okay.
Nikki Baker. So she was the other girl in the team, and she had also never driven a race car in her life. And, she did that race with us. And, yeah, we did really well. So both those girls never been behind the wheel of a race car. We got third in our class, which was awesome. And, yeah, now Nikki is a rally driver.
Yeah, right.
So how do you get, just like women, this coming my background, I'm just, how do they, when they're picking someone who hasn't had a background or hasn't, well, maybe not a background, but hasn't raced before, what's sort of the precursor to get those people into the car to get them to go and then race?
So we're actually doing this at the moment because we're putting another all-girls team together for...
the 6 hour?
Yeah, in November, we're doing another 4 hour.
Yep.
And we're going to try and get another all-girls team together with Raceaway Track Time.
At Pheasants Wood?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And so that will be Phil's daughter, Kinsey, has recently gotten heavily involved with helping out.
Yeah, I saw that on
business.
saw that on Instagram, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I love her so much. So her and I are working to put together an all-girls team. And basically what you do is there's a Saturday practice before the event itself. So you get the girls in and have them driving around, first of all, in the Mazda 2s that are supplied by Pheasant Wood Circuit, just to get them comfortable, show them race lines, and then you put them into something a little faster. And then, so those girls had just jumped in the car the day before, learnt the race lines, and then jumped in for a 4-hour race the next day. Like, it's crazy, but the Pheasant Wood 4-hour, it's all rookies. Like, there's some people who have been racing for a long time and are just trying to sort of get back into the car cheaply in a way and feel young again, I guess you could say. And then there's people who have never been in a race car in their life in that sort of race, and it's very cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
What do you reckon could be done to promote women to get into motorsport though? Like, as in, they've got the whole thing with Motorsport Australia right now, but do you reckon there could be like better pathways to get girls into, like yourself, like a mechanic or an engineer for a Formula One team? Do you reckon there's more coming through the ranks now? Or
there's definitely more coming through the ranks, and there's a lot of support now. So there's race chicks who they teach more than just girls in racing sort of thing. They'll teach you other pathways within motorsport, much like Girls on Track, and they also do like a defensive driver course sort of thing, and how to market yourself and stuff like that, which is very important to know.
Yep.
But yeah, I think Girls on Track covers it pretty well, but they're very aimed at the younger generations. And like Linda that I used to navigate for, I don't think she got into motorsport till she was like in her late 30s or something.
Yeah, right.
Like you got to aim at marketing towards the older generations too. Like my mum goes and does track days now. She didn't start doing track days till she was 50.
And now she
Still
loves
got a
it.
chance.
Yes.
What's your mum round to the track though? Does she want to hop in the RX8 Cup series and have a go or not?
No, she actually hasn't driven the Cup car yet. She has a Audi S3. It's been like race chipped and everything. It makes 240 at the wheels and it's manual. It's cool.
Right.
And she goes and does track days and stuff in that. And I really want to get her behind the wheel of the race car. But she's never even been in the passenger seat with me yet.
Yeah, the only reason I asked that is because Brooke, every time she watches me race, she's like, holy shit, I want to have a go. It looks pretty fun.
Do it.
And she's so competitive.
Join our girls team.
There you go. You know what?
Come and learn. The only thing that scares me about motorsports, to be honest, is the paychecks. Like what you got to pay, I'm like, ooh.
Well, they can comment on our social media if Brooke and Maisie can team up in a car.
Yes. Yes. Well,
Actually,
we'll
you know
have
what,
to get
Maisie?
Kinsey onto this.
We could. You know what? That's actually not a bad
We
idea.
need a fourth
What's
driver.
happening to me?
Yeah. we can get Brooke stuck in a pickle here. Brooks doesn't know how to learn to drive a manual, but I'm pretty sure with your help and Kinsey,
I've never had a chance.
she's never had a
like
chance.
that. Anyone
No,
who's
she
wondering.
has raw ability. She's great in traffic, by the way. She's like a NASCAR driver in traffic. So she's got that. As a boyfriend, she's got that raw ability to dart through people. I'm like, all you need to learn now is the gearbox and you're sweet.
Yeah.
So I reckon with you and Kinsey there, for an endurance race, maybe we can get people on social media to back this analogy and actually get Brooke behind the wheel of a car.
Yes, I would love that.
I just got to get this healed and we'll be out there.
I'm so opposite to a lot of people. I had never driven an auto until I was like, I'd driven manuals my whole life, and the first time I drove in an auto, I was just like on the road and I was like, well, how do I do this? And I'm like pressing the one pedal, I'm slamming on the brake. I'm like, oh God.
You're like me though, you put your hand down, you're like, oh, I don't need to change the gear.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You just
You sit there holding the shifter the entire time and you're just like, I don't need to do this, but it's comfortable.
Yeah. And you're wondering what the gearbox does because it's auto.
You're just like, oh, I know there's heaps of valves and stuff in there that are it's like, no.
I got to ask, what do you think are the most opportunities for women as a mechanic locally and internationally to become? Like in supercars and TCR, is there many women mechanics or anything? Do you know of any that are in that scene in the supercars and TCR ranks, or not really?
There's a lot that are coming up through the ranks. I actually have a friend called Crystal who is, she's doing sports coaching, I believe. I'd have to double check that.
Is she with Adrian Sarkis, that Crystal?
Yes,
there we go.
I love Crystal. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So I'm really good friends with her, and she's sort of moving up with Morky at the moment. And of course, she's got. Have you met Jazz?
Yes. There's the two of them. Aren't they best friends? Aren't they?
Yeah. It's so funny seeing them together at the tracks. But I've seen a lot of people like those two who are starting off sort of at grassroots level, helping people out, and then sort of moving up and getting more into the mechanics side of things at higher level. Because that's the thing, they started off just as coaching fitness, and now they're under there changing diffs for Morky at the track and stuff like that, and it's so cool to see that.
Want to hear more? Each week we will share the hottest clips from our guest interviews on YouTube. But to hear the full episode, make sure to subscribe or follow us on your favourite podcast platform.